Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. Welcome, 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 welcome. I'm so excited. Today, I will be interviewing Charles Osuji. So today is going to be amazing. Trust. I'm going to be interviewing Charles Osuji from Calgary, Alberta. We're going to be talking about his journey, from immigrants to one of Canada's most influential lawyers, top 25 most influential lawyers. For some of you that know me, I know part of why I share the things that I do, you would know this story because Charles is one of my favorite. His story is one of my favorite stories. And it's always a pleasure to just see someone as inspiration as that and just be able to share his story. So I decided to bring him on and ask him all the questions that I know that a lot of us have been wanting to ask. And just even learn from his journey. So he's right here. I'll just bringing him on. And we should get going. I am so excited for you guys. Excited for this interview that I think I'm also nervous. I'm always nervous.
Daddy, I can't match your enthusiasm. That is impossible.
My child, I am so excited to have you. Like, it's a pleasure. This is the first time that we're actually having a face-to-face. Usually we're always talking on phone and whatnot. So
Yes.
yeah, it's such a pleasure to have you. So as I was saying, before you came on, you're one of my favorite people.
Wow.
I mean, I'll tell you why. When I first started, you were one of the first stories that I came across, and I was blown by it. And the reason why is that somehow I could identify with your story because, I came as an immigrant wanting to go into pharmacy. But I was told, you have to, there are so many restrictions that an immigrant, you can't get into it. And it was one of the things that discouraged me into getting into one of those professional courses. So to see somebody that actually did it was boom, mind blowing, and so that was one of the reasons why I just I was like, if he can do it, then why do they keep telling us that it's impossible? So with all that being said, guys, it's a pleasure to have the managing partner of Osuji and Smith in Calgary, who happens to be one of Canada's top. See how you think there's one of Canada's top most influential lawyers. He's a Calgary-based lawyer. I would have him introduce himself so that we get to know him, and we'll start. So, Charles, tell us about yourself. Who is Charles Osuji?
Right. Damien, before I tell before I introduce myself, I want to share a little bit about how I got to know you. So when I believe it was in 2017, I was doing other areas of practice, and all of a sudden I started getting inquiries on employment law all the time. Right? I started getting inquiries on employment law, and I started asking, what the heck is going on here? Then it dawned on me that my firm had won some award on employment law. Top 3 employment lawyers in Calgary. But I had no idea. But you had actually carried the story. So you had carried the story. Then I started wondering, who is Dami? And I looked you up, and I think that was when you were starting out, sharing content about immigrants. So thank you for that. Charles Osuji from Nigeria came here 2011, and he's been hustle all the way. A lot of belief in self. I became a lawyer here in 2014, and it's been upward mobility since then.
Okay, so what's mind blowing about his story, for those of you that might not be familiar with who Charles Osuji is? Charles came to Canada did you come as an international student or a PR?
PR.
Okay, he came as a PR, and he said articling in a 37-year-old firm. So then it was Smith and Smith, right?
Yeah, Smith Law Office, yeah.
Smith Law Office, yes.
Yeah.
And then he worked his way to becoming a partner, then eventually bought over the firm. And now the firm is
Right.
called Osuji and Smith,
Yes.
right? And he did this, he bought the firm by the time he was 31.
Right.
Can you, like, I mean, that was mind blowing. And
Right.
then just last year, he was recognized as one of the most influential young. What exactly is the title, please?
Yeah, top 25 most influential lawyers in the young lawyers category. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is someone, this is an immigrant that has just broken so many ceilings. So, Charles, how did you do it?
How
How,
did I
like,
do it?
I mean, what was okay? So you came to Canada. You came, as you said, you came as a PR,
Yes.
and you started articling almost immediately, or
So I came in 2011, late 2011-ish.
mm-hmm,
The first few months were just hustle, right? Trying to survive, trying to save money. The
mm-hmm.
plan was to, work, save money, and then start to challenge the exams. So that was the original plan. I did everything, Dami. Everything under the sun.
Charles, you did everything with this your fresh face.
Forget about this fresh face. I did everything. I can give you an example. For instance, I there was a time I was only going to bed twice a week. Yes, because I had three jobs. I had one in the morning, I had one in the evening, I had one at night. And then repeat morning, evening, night. Then I'll sleep. Maybe take a day off from the night shift, then go back again, morning, evening, night, morning, evening, night. My best friend then was Red Bull. There was a time I realized that Red Bull had a limit. Okay,
Wow.
the energy drink had a limit. I couldn't stay up anymore. There was one night I was going from one job to the other. I was on a train. I passed out to the train. So the train took me all the way from the end of the city to the end of the city. I'm back again and then back again. So this was like a 2 hour commute.
Wow.
And then the conductor came out and it was like, this guy, I've been seeing this guy.
Wow.
You know, there was a time because I had not have enough sleep. I went for an interview after my multiple shift and I slept off in front of the interviewer. I
Like they were
slept
asking
off.
you questions and you slept
We
off.
were talking and I slept off. Because at that time I probably had not slept for like 3 or 4 days. So the plan was to work, save up some money, and then challenge the exams. I was very focused on the goal. And I did that. I worked for about 8 months, no, 6, 7 months, stayed home, challenged the exams. And fortunately for me, I found articles within 2 months of finishing my exams.
Mhm.
And that was how I met with Mr. Smith. And when I joined Mr. Smith, the plan was just to, you know, article, learn the law, and build confidence, because that's one thing immigrants lack. Some immigrants, anyhow, because when you come to a new country, you're not sure whether you'll be accepted, right? You're not sure whether the experiences and your qualifications even matter, right? So you want to start all over to build confidence and build your reputation. So that was what I did in the first 6 months. And when you're coming from where I'm coming from, and you're given an opportunity in a law office, you don't blow it, right? Like it's not an option.
Mm.
Blowing it is not an option.
And you know what I find interesting, because I have a friend that is a lawyer here too, from that time, and it seemed like it was a lot harder to get into it. Now it feels like with immigrant lawyers, there's a lot of support.
Yes,
Then it
absolutely.
wasn't. He was. I think out of all the students, then he was like the only person in the whole of Saskatchewan. So it was. So I know how hard it was then. There wasn't any support. Now, thank God for people like Moyo and that are doing all these things to sort of help with that. But I mean, I can only imagine how it was getting that opportunity at that time.
Yeah, it was very difficult because, in fact, it took me so many months to actually meet with an actual lawyer. There was no Nigerian community of lawyers and all of that. Right now, as I speak, I have three Nigerian lawyers in the office working,
Mm.
and there's a bunch of people like me as well, right? I actually created with a friend, I created the Nigerian lawyers group in Calgary. So if you're a Nigerian lawyer in Calgary, email me or text me your phone number, I add it to the group. So we have that body of support.
Mm,
So we didn't have any of that back in 2012, 2013. You had to really hustle and do the connections yourself. Fortunately for me, I joined a mentoring organization. Through that mentoring organization, I was able to connect to other internationally trained lawyers. I found a community. And then back to my story, after a year of articling, I became a lawyer. And a year and a half into my bar call, an opportunity arose to be a partner. That happened. And then a few months later, an opportunity to buy the firm came out, and I didn't want to do it at all.
mm,
I did not want to do it at all. I thought it was going to be the craziest decision ever. To me, it was very risky. I was young and I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't have a lot of network. And you're going from being an associate and all of a sudden you're carrying all of these responsibilities, 50K a month in overhead. It was a lot. But my saving grace was the fact that I had good people, older ones. I had my brother, I had Mr. Smith that believes in me more than I believe in myself. I had my mentor. So I went to them and they were like, you know what, this is a good deal. This is a no-brainer. I should go for it. Yeah.
mm.
So it ended up becoming one of my best decisions.
Wow. Okay, so let's understand the timeline because um, when you started working in the firm, once when you became a lawyer, what was the time frame from you becoming a lawyer to? Sorry, I'm not in the legal field,
Right,
so
right,
please, from you becoming a lawyer to actually becoming an associate,
right.
what was
So,
the?
yeah, becoming a lawyer is the same thing as being an associate. And that
Okay.
was in 2014 when I was called to the bar.
Hmm. So
And then in 2016, I became a partner in the firm.
okay, so 2 years. Within 2 years, you became a
Within
partner.
2 years or thereabout, yes.
So what does it entail to become a partner?
To be a co-owner of the firm, right?
Okay,
Is to
okay.
have, to have an equity, an ownership stake in the firm. Then it happened that Mr. Smith was looking to retire. In fact, he was actually negotiating with someone else. I wasn't even interested at all in buying the firm. It didn't cross my mind at all. It was negotiating with someone else, and I remember that person taking me out for lunch and telling me, "Hey, Charles, I heard you're a hard worker. I'm going to keep you. Don't don't think your job is at risk. I'm going to keep you on." And I was so happy. I was like, okay, he's going to keep me on. Anyhow, a few months into it, the conversation didn't go, didn't pan
Well,
out. And then the opportunity came around. I was like, you know what, let me give it a shot. And I made an offer to Mr. Smith that he couldn't resist. And here we are.
okay, so I think one of the things that everybody wants to ask is, in terms of the finances required to become a partner, how were you able to raise that? Like, did you get a loan? Was
Right,
it crowdsourcing? Like, how were you able to raise the funds to become a partner?
right. So at the very beginning of my practice, I hustled a lot. I kind of transferred all of those, hustle in the factory, in the warehouse. I transferred it into law practice. So I was all over the place. I was working like crazy. I was part of the community. I was all over the place. I was networking. So I was bringing a lot of money to the firm, right? I ended up on my own bringing over 50% of the revenue in the firm all by myself.
Well,
So I had some savings. However, I had to borrow money, right? In this country, rather use someone else's money to get ahead than using your money. Yeah, so there was some loan and some savings, and ultimately the number one capital was fearlessness. That was the number one capital, fearlessness. You have to completely believe in your ability to succeed. Because I remember when I was trying to get some loan and they were like, "Yeah, you're too young, you don't have any network, you don't even have a lot of work history. How do we believe you that you can honor the debt and pay back. And I told them, look, this is what I've done in this firm in the 2 years that I've been here. Give me a chance. Some banks didn't give me a chance, but the ones that did, the nothing to regret whatsoever. Yeah. So a combination of, personal savings and some loans.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about, as you rightly said, it's one thing to be a lawyer, right? And it's another thing to actually be an entrepreneur or a business owner.
Yes.
Because now you're responsible for, I don't know how many workers you have, but you're responsible for
14. Yeah.
14. So if anything goes wrong, is your headache. You have
The
to
small head.
you have to figure that out, how the business is run, your overhead costs and all of that. Did you take any sort of training in management, or should we just chalk it down to Igbo man? Is it just in you?
The Igbo man degree is equivalent to like 5 MBAs. Okay, so
that's what I'm saying. So let's go down. So
there was no formal training whatsoever. In fact, I had not owned anything, owned business whatsoever before this. Not even a shop, nothing. However, there are so many traits that you would have and you would succeed wherever you are, right? You have to be kind, you have to be human, you have to dedicate your time towards learning the craft. Many people, they hear my story and they think it all happened overnight. It did not happen overnight. 7 days a week, 3 years in a row. Some days I work Christmas days, some Easter days and Easter Sundays, January 1st. Even now I still do at the very least 6 days a week. So it's still ongoing hustle, ongoing hard work. That is really what separates you from others. And then all of the training from Nigeria, from the university, from how it is back home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the experience I had, working, doing survival jobs, knowing exactly the kind of life I wouldn't want to go back to, right? So all of that helped me to build capacity, right? Helped me to build capacity. And then paying attention to how things work for others, right? When I started, I asked a lot of questions. So I had a community of business owners. I joined an association called BNI. BNI stands for Business Network something. It's an organization that the members are business owners, small business owners. So that was my first time owning a business in a foreign land. I was like, you know what? I better find myself in a community of business owners here. And I joined that group. I learned how to network better. I learned how to be intentional with marketing. I learned branding. I learned how to hone your pitch, and I also made a lot of money through that group. I remember, I think in 6 months, I probably made about 60 grand just being a member of that group because of referrals,
network,
because of the network, right? And then I had a lot of mentors, right? Different individuals, either from the family or professionally or personally. Yeah. Sometimes formal education is good in certain areas, but at the end of the day, there's just so many personality traits you have to really, really learn and hone that will help you succeed wherever you find yourself.
Thank you for that. Let's talk about the people that you employ. As I said, you're someone that I've always looked up to, and there's so many things that I'm going to sort of put you on the spot and make you a little bit shy, because you guys, no joke, Charles is an amazing guy.
Thank you.
I mean, you're passionate about the immigrant community, not just even Nigerians. There are so many. At some point, it felt like I was always telling Charles's story because he was just doing something here with this community, and you've always been that person. And one of the things that you also do with your law firm is that your law firm is so diverse.
Yes, very important to me.
Why is diversity so important to you?
In my little way, I want to make a statement in Calgary, not just in Calgary, Canada, right? Coming to this country, I remember when I was looking for articles, nobody was calling me back when I was looking for internship. I wasn't getting a call back. In fact, I applied to volunteer organizations. They wouldn't even take me on as a volunteer, you
Wow.
know. So the barrier was very embarrassing. The barrier was real. And at the back of my head, I was like, if I break through, I'm going to make a statement using any opportunity that I have. And that's what I'm doing right now. If you look at the website, it's like a little United Nations.
I mean, like, in fact, you have different languages. If you have a client that has, please, for those that don't understand what I mean by your law firm is very diverse, explain the structure of your diversity, like in terms of languages that are available and all that.
So in my firm, we speak at least 15 different major languages, right? So we have someone from India, we have South Korea, we have China, we have Nigeria. I just took on someone from Edo, so that's good.
Hmm.
Edo, yeah, right. I also have Calgarians. I
Hmm.
have I also have
I think, do you have someone from Philippines?
no, funny enough, I hired a new lawyer. Oh, actually, I have someone from Portugal. That was my new recruit. I took her
Hmm.
on 2 weeks ago, but it was between Philippine and Portugal. But I didn't hire because of where they came from, but
Hmm.
she was more qualified,
Hmm.
right? So it's very important to me. And then not just racial diversity, also sexual diversity. I have a transgender in the office. You may not even know the person, but I have a transgender in the office. So I hired the person as a male, and now the person is a female, which is fine, right? And diversity is very, very important to me because it's a testament to the fact that when people come together and focus on, shared common values like excellence and, doing good work for the clients, immediately where they come from begin to matter less, right? And that is exactly the story that I want people to tell when they see my firm.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you. That's amazing. So let's talk about your community work. That's something that you're also heavily involved in. I don't know of anybody in Calgary that does not know Charles or has not been a beneficiary of something that you've done, even if it's just the networking, even if it's you are
Thank you.
big on, making sure that as a community we achieve and do more.
Right.
Again, why is that? Because you can say you're a big boy, you're
No,
living
I'm
a
not.
life. It doesn't concern
I'm a humble
Charles.
servant.
It doesn't concern you, and mind your business. Why do you choose to be part of developing others regardless of the industry they are in?
Thank you for that. Because of my own story, I am a beneficiary of people helping me. I was born in a family of 10. I have seven siblings, right? I am the seventh child of eight.
Mhm.
My immediate older sister is about 11 years older than I am. So by
Wow.
the time I was born, my oldest brother was finishing university, right?
Wow.
You know, and that was a good thing for me because I had a lot of big brothers and big sisters to look up to. So
Mhm.
everyone was helping at every stage of my life. From when I was in primary school, my one of my brothers, the Reverend Father, took me on. I lived with him. And then when I was done, I came here. My oldest brother, sponsored me to Canada and kind of helped me learn the ropes at the beginning. Then
Mhm.
when I was done with my licensing exams, Mr. Smith took me on as his mentee. And I remember my first day with him, he my accent would even let me explain myself very, very well because I was just fresh from the bush, right? I was just, when you see a bush rabbit come from
Mhm.
the bush and they come, get into the middle of the city. But he didn't care.
Mhm.
It didn't matter to him. He could see the zeal, he could see the fire in my eyes, he could see the hustle, right? He didn't
Mhm.
care. He gave me an opportunity and mentored me, and then I took over. So since then, helping others and mentorship has become a huge deal for me, right? I am part of the legal aid where I'm able to do work at a very significant reduced rate. I run a free legal clinic every month in the Northeast for people that cannot afford legal services.
Mhm.
I have at least two practicum students in my firm every month, right? I've partnered with UFC. I've partnered with like four different schools and colleges to send me students. I have articling students at least. The most you can have at any given time is two, and I try to max it out every year.
Mhm.
And when people reach out to me to sponsor the event, I try my best because that is the story of my life. I've been a beneficiary at every stage of my life. And I'm so grateful to God that as early as possible, He gave me the opportunity to give back. So many people want to give back,
Mhm.
but they don't have the ability or the opportunity to give back. I have been given an opportunity to give back, and giving back isn't really financial assistance or bringing in students and mentoring them. Giving back is also showing good examples and inspiring people. There's a lot of bad rap out there, with Nigeria. So if you're that one of those exceptions where, people look at you and say, you know what, good things come out of this country, that is also giving back. And
Mhm.
and it means a lot to me.
Mhm. And I can say that myself, I'm a beneficiary because Charles was one of the first people to support me, and he's been supporting me. This is the first time we're actually meeting, face to face,
Right, right,
But
right,
he's just one of those people that believed in my dream, even when I seemingly didn't know what I was doing. He would just come around me and just encourage me. How far you have not been posted? What's going on? So
right,
I really,
right,
really appreciate that because it does go a long way. There are times that you message me when, I was feeling down. I would just feel like, okay, I have to go. I have to keep going. So
right.
that just speaks to the kind of person that you are. See, people in the comments are like, I'm a major beneficiary. Major, you see, Charles is an all-round amazing guy. So he really deserves to be celebrated. So please, in the comments, if you can just a round of applause, a round of applause. Let's celebrate Charles. Um,
Thank you.
and while we're doing that, if anyone has any questions for Charles, you can just put it in the comments or you can use the question tab. I'll be taking questions shortly. Now, let's talk about your awards. You're a highly decorated lawyer. Like, honestly, it's as if, as I say, it's as if it's every time I see it, it makes me so happy. You have won the Immigrant Awards in Calgary.
Right.
You've won top rated lawyers in Calgary. You've won yeah, I mean the top 25 lawyers, young influential lawyers in
Right.
Canada. I mean, how does it feel to know that you have this national recognition?
Well, it's humbling, but it's not for me though. The award is for everyone that is hustling out there, right? The award is for every young immigrant that is doing the best that they can at any given opportunity. Someday you get recognized, someday you may not be recognized, but you're still making an impact in your little corner. So it's not for me. So long as that award says the Nigerian born Charles Osuji, that first prefix, the Nigerian born, is good enough for me, right? So I feel that is a testament to the kind of talent we bring to this country.
Mm.
I've had situations where, someone walks into the office and they're asking me, they want to talk to the to a lawyer in the firm, right?
Mhm.
They want to talk to a lawyer in the firm, and I say, yes, I'm a lawyer in the firm too. You can talk
Mhm.
to me. In fact, you must talk to me alone, right, before you talk to other
Mhm.
people. And so I'm just a steward for the recognition. I'm
Mhm.
just a steward for the award. It's not just for me, it's for everyone.
Mhm. You actually brought a very important um, you know, point, are you received, or maybe in the course of your journey, do people receive you as a lawyer, being a Black person, immigrant, or a person of color, how were you received initially? Was it, or how you received? Do people come and still want to speak to the person in charge and they're looking for somebody
Not
else?
anymore. But at the very beginning, there are issues with acceptance, right? There are issues with acceptance. The thing with lawyers, though, is before someone hires you, they must have looked you up,
Mm.
right? They must have looked you up. It's not like being a doctor where
It's not
you
a
just walk,
walk-in.
you just walk in and then the person is shocked to see you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get a lot of the negative experiences of lack of acceptance. But
Mm-hmm.
once in a while, you still get it, even with fellow lawyers. I remember back in the day, I was at a deposition. Deposition is like cross-examination, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other lawyers, Caucasian, asking my client questions, and I objected to a question, and I told the lawyer that my client did not, that the question was confusing, that the question should be rephrased. And the lawyer said, "What do you mean you don't understand it? Is English a second language?"
In court.
It wasn't really in court, but it
Oh,
was,
oh, like, yeah, okay.
yeah, it was a formal setting, right, where you have a court reporter, so there was silence in the room, and the lawyer realized what he had said, right? Because he couldn't, after he said it, he realized what he had said,
Mm-hmm.
right? The pretense was not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, he apologized on the record. So we do get that. I remember there was a time I was throwing out garbage at the back of the office, and then I was putting the garbage in a bin that was used by my neighbor mechanic. So my neighbor, a mechanic, had hired another mechanic that didn't know me. And when the mechanic saw me throwing out the garbage, they said, "Oh no, this garbage doesn't belong to the lawyers, right? It belongs to the mechanic shop." So you still get those comments here and there,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's just the reality, right? That's just the reality. But at the end of the day, the antidote, I always tell people, is stand out.
Mm-hmm.
If other people are putting in 10%, put in 110%. If they're working, if they're utilizing 40% of their capacity, utilize 100% of their capacity, right? That is the reality of how things are. And once you stand out, what makes you different begins to um, make you stand out, right? Whatever makes you different begins to make you stand out. Some people are so they are so excited about the fact that this good lawyer has an accent. It's not an exciting reality, right? It's not a good thing, right? You want to deal with or talk to my lawyer, his accent is so nice, and
That
you
is
know,
hilarious.
yeah. But at the end of the day, though, like I said, if you're able to stand out, you're able to help them, go from point A to point B. I always say this: if you're able to prove your onions, you're able to help people and give them what they're looking for and more. All of this disappears. The color of your skin and where you come from, they disappear. They'll come back. And that's
Mm.
been my experience.
Mm. Thank you for that. We'll just take some questions. Someone says, and this is from Mexi. He says, do you have any intentions of partnering with Nigerian law firms to expand the scope of your practice or immigrant services? Some form of synergy. What's your take on it?
I think Mexi is my classmate. I think that's the Mexis that I know. It was my classmate back in university.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So these are the people that have been there from day one. Anyhow, I've actually had this conversation with Mexi, off and on. My plan for the first 3, 4 years of running this firm is to build a foundation first,
Mm.
right? Once I build a foundation and I consolidate, then I can start, having connections across borders, right? You need to have a solid foundation first before you branch out. Otherwise, if you branch out too quickly, you collapse. So
Mm,
that is definitely at the back of my mind. I've actually done some work. I've actually collaborated with some, big firms in Nigeria. For instance, Kenna Partners and one other firm in Lagos. I've done some work with them. But that relationship needs to be formalized and become consistent down the road once I have a solid foundation here.
mm, Thank you for that. Another question. This is from Oba 50,000. It says, which area of law is your specialty?
So I run a general practice law firm, meaning that we do everything. I have nine lawyers in the firm. They do pretty much everything. But for me, my focus is on employment law and litigation.
Mm,
So all kinds of employment related disputes. You've been terminated from employment and you think that this severance was not reasonable, or you were terminated for cause alleged misconduct because the employer doesn't want to pay you your
mm,
compensation, or you're looking to negotiate your employment contract. All employment related questions, I deal with them. I also do a lot of business law, from incorporation to shareholders disputes to partnership agreements and all that. I also do general civil litigation. So you want to sue someone in court for breaching an agreement or for non-payment of debt or whatever it is. So these are my core areas. But I do have experience in other areas as well.
mm. So for someone like me that I've
Mhm.
never really had any court case, I'm not familiar with the legal system. My idea of law is suits. You know.
That's
So
a drawback, by the way, just for the
is it
records.
is law as like is do you guys have all that?
No,
It's
it's
just
not.
it's just for
No,
TV.
it's just drama, right?
Just thought to ask. Um,
Yeah, it's drama.
Another question from Alan G. I hope I'm saying that right. If you could give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Be kinder to yourself. Accept your journey wherever
Mm,
you are. Back in law school, I wanted to be the best student. Back in 2, 3 years ago, I wanted to lots of anxiety, not being at home with the reality that the future was not clear, right?
mm,
I wasn't kind to myself. I was always ahead of myself. I wanted, to me, for instance, back in secondary school, the idea of being a successful person was making all A's, right?
mm,
Back in the university, the idea of being a successful person was making all A's. But in real life, although those things matter, but yeah, they're not conclusive, life has a
mm,
lot in stock for us. So at every stage you are, even if things are not working out as they should, even if the dots are not connected, be kind to yourself, accept your journey, and be very, very hopeful. That would be the advice I give to my younger self.
Thank you. So, question from Tofino Immigration. He owes me coffee when I come to Calgary. He says, "What do you love the most about what you do?"
The fact that I can actually bring light in somebody's life. Someone comes to me in a very dark place, and I help them go from that dark place to a bright place. That is what I love. The privilege of helping someone that is separating from their spouse after 30 years of marriage. The privilege of helping an employee that has put in, right today, I sent out a demand letter on behalf of an employee that worked for a company for 42 years. He showed up at work and he was gone. He was terminated. No question asked, no explanation, nothing. He is in a depressive mood because all the connections he's built for all of these years were all from work. He got married while at work. He had his kids while at work. The kids went to high school, prom, university while at work. He is defined by his work. And the
Mm,
fact that at the end of the negotiation, I will hand him over $300,000, $400,000 for him to reinvent himself.
Mm,
That gives me joy. The ability to make impactful, you know, bring light into people's lives and help them go from point A to point B in a very significant manner. That is highly, highly rewarding.
Okay. We have another question from X. It says, what kind stroke level of marketing skills do you employ to project your firm in bringing in new clients? That's a very good question.
Yeah. Well, he went to my school. It's Mexi, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Anyhow, the law involves a lot of what we colloquially call packaging. Okay.
Mm.
That's just where it is. That's the reality. Law, you like you love suit because of that packaging, right? You like the way they're wearing suit and Harvey and right there.
Very true.
Law involves a lot of packaging, a lot of optics. So the problem is some people are very, very smart. They know how to get the job done, but they cannot sell themselves.
Mm,
They'd rather sit back and wait for the files to come, right?
mm,
But remember that as a lawyer in a very competitive environment, you're charging your client 350, 400 bucks an hour, and you really think you don't want to sell yourself to the client? Nobody has $400 an hour lying around to be doling out to people. So in addition to knowing the law and where to find the law and having all these connections, you need to be able to invest in selling yourself,
mm,
right? If you win an award, share it. Don't keep it in your pocket. Share it. You're inspiring other people. You are marketing yourself. You're branding yourself. However, it does not end there. In as much as you're out there branding yourself and attracting work, you want to make sure that you walk the talk. At the
mm,
end of the day, when you attract clients in, do you get the work done?
mm,
Right? You're projecting, this excellent practitioner, you have integrity, you're honest, you're this, you're that. But then when the client comes in, the client sends you an email, it takes you a week to reply to the client. The
mm.
client tells you that this is what they want, and you're trying to cut corners on behalf of the client. So market yourself, bring in work, and still deliver.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that because it was something that I struggle with. And I think it's sort of like, would you call it false humility in the sense that, especially with singing our praises, and it's really why I'm doing what I'm doing, because as immigrants, as Africans here, we don't have representation in media. So every time someone Googles Charles Osuji, my articles will pop up.
Yes, yes, I've noticed that too.
So it gives validation to who that's again, and my blog is a really good blog. You should check it out. But yeah,
Right,
so it gives. I mean, because anytime you hear something or you're doing research on something, you most likely go and Google it to be sure. Okay, if this person is real and whatnot. So
right.
if you win an award, loud it,
Yes,
celebrate it. There's
celebrate it.
nothing wrong in it. And I'm saying this because even myself, I struggle with it. It's easy for me to sing praises of other people, but I just feel like, it's too weird. Am I like, is it like me, 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 me? But see, we need that to move forward. It's very, very necessary. I wanted to just point on that.
Right.
Someone asked a question. One lesson life has one lesson life has taught you, and one lesson law has taught you.
Life has taught me that everything is possible. Look at where I am today. Back 3, 4 years ago, I couldn't have imagined it, to be very honest with you. I couldn't have imagined it where I am today. Um, Life has taught me that there are endless, endless possibilities, and that's why I keep hammering on the fact that if things are not working out well, don't you give up.
Mm.
Don't you give up. Stay the course, learn the ropes, do what you're supposed to do at any given time, and hope for the best. So that's what life has taught me. Then law has also taught me that what we do, like I said before, is a privilege. The ability to help people is a privilege. Not only that, ability to help people and get paid for it is a privilege. And it's unfortunate if a lawyer abuses that privilege because the client is completely dependent on them. The client is helpless when it comes to the lawyer-client relationship. The client is completely dependent on the lawyer's direction. So those are the two lessons.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. I had one more question just in my mind. Um. Yes, with our community, I find that a lot of people would do everything to avoid the law. And what I mean by that is that I don't know if it's because of our history or our relationship with the law back home, knowing that it's really every man for himself, police is not your friend, lawyers, expensive, all that. And so a lot of times I find that in our communities, we would rather not deal with the law, like deal with the law. So if there's a dispute, for example, you rather go to a community leader to settle it, pastor, settle,
Your uncle.
or uncle, or even with someone like me, I've never gotten a ticket. That's very, very intentional. Driving tickets. I just don't want to have any reason to be involved in. I've made up my mind, and even if people make fun of the fact that I drive, I drive like a grandmother. I've not got a ticket,
Right.
So there's that would you say there's that fear of the law, and the disadvantage of that is that when we are being cheated in let's say in a work setting, for example, we tend to just chuck it to, well, God will fight my battle,
Let
or
God's will be done. It's a cultural
let
thing.
God's,
Yeah.
and we because again it's kind of like my word against the law. Who has $300? What if I don't even win? What happens? And because of that, it's just we just take it as faith. So what would you say to people in our community that are that have the fear of the law, whatever the law is,
Yeah.
whether it's the police or even lawyers?
Right, right. It's a cultural thing, unfortunately. The reality is there are a few factors that leads to this. Number one is culturally, we don't place premium on intangible services. Okay.
Mm,
For instance, going to a counselor and paying $400 per session. Come on. You have your best friend to talk to, you have your mom to talk to, you have your brother to talk to, and it's free of charge,
mhm,
right? And you guys even talk for more than an hour.
mhm,
Nobody's keeping tabs on it. But remember that these people are not qualified
mhm,
to to connect with you in that on that level and provide you with the kind of resources that you require, right?
mhm,
So that is one. Number two is given our history back home, there is a distrust with lawyers and this distrust with the system, the police and all that. So that distrust kind of carries over when we come here as well, and we project that distrust on lawyers here as well. And number three, we are culturally submissive to authority.
mm,
And authority could be in different fashions. It could be your teacher. I remember back in secondary school, our principal used to bring his nephews from America every year. And these guys would come and they'd be swearing at our teacher. And I was like, what?
you got, hey.
Like, I couldn't even believe it. They'd be swearing. I was like, are you? So, but we're not trained that way culturally. We're trained to respect elders, even if the person is 2 years older, if the person is one class ahead of you in school. Then imagine in the employment setting, this is an employer that pays you wages, and
Mhm,
you're terminated and you're challenging the employer and you're hiring a lawyer to challenge the employer. Who are you, right? So we
mhm,
have all those cultural barriers. But the reality is the way this society is governed, your rights, you just don't sleep on your rights.
mhm,
I can't think of a client that has hired me and is worse off than they were before they hired me. I can't think of it because the truth is, before I take on the file, I've assessed it, I've assessed the relative strength or the risk of taking it on. And if, in my estimation, in my experience, that the client to be better off, I'll take it on. If the client to be worse off, I'll reject the file. I'll tell them, look, for instance, I had a consultation today at, I think, 11 o'clock. This guy worked for a company for 18 months. He's asking for overtime, but the overtime date back to when he started. The law puts a 6 month limitation period. You cannot ask for overtime for 6 months before, right? And I calculated the amount in the last 6 months. It wasn't more than $3,000. I said, look, don't hire me for this. You're going to spend more on legal fees than you're ever going to get back. And that's the whole point of having that conversation with him. So I've seen clients that, they were brave enough, courageous enough to go after the employer. I had this woman that came, she was offered $40,000. She came to me, she paid me $3,000 for 2 letters, and she walked away with $113,000. So she spent $3,000 and she made $113,000. With Caucasians, they don't have any problem with that. They don't have any problem with going after the employer, even if they work for two months. I had a consult last week. The guy had put down $3,000 as down payment for a truck. He ended up not buying the truck because he found something else. So he wanted his money back. And the dealership delayed in giving him his money. Because of the delay, he incurred about $250 on his credit card as late interest. He wanted to pay me $4,000. I'm not kidding you. He wanted to pay me $4,000 to go to court
to get
to fight $250, because he was only giving back the $3,000. It was just the interest that he incurred of $250. He wanted to pay a lawyer, but that is the mindset, right? The mindset that, who are you? I want to fight for my rights. I want to pursue my rights. The way you treated me was wrong. There has to be accountability. There has to be consequences. But some of us, based on where we're coming from, we really don't have that, right? We don't have that courage. And it's something that has to be. There was a man, I think he's Yoruba. He was offered, I think, 60 grand. He called me. He wanted to set up an appointment. I told him to connect with my assistant. They set up an appointment. He never showed up for the appointment. He only showed up a month later. And by the time he showed up, he had already accepted the $60,000. And then realized that immediately he accepted the $60,000, they posted his position because they had told him that his position had been eliminated. But they posted his position, immediately accepted it. Then he was pissed. He came back. I realized that if he had paid me maybe $2,000 or $3,000, I would have actually gotten him double what he accepted. But because he think he was being smart not to pay that consultation fee, gets the arrangement behind my back and get it all done, put the money in his pocket, and then want to go after the employee. That didn't happen. So a lot of barriers. At the end of the day, it also involves a lawyer that is honest, right? You need to be able to talk to a lawyer that will be honest and telling you, look, there is no case here. Like the guy from this morning, I told him, I'm not going to take on your case because I know how much you're going to spend, and I know that you're going to get back less than how much you spent. So it's a two-way traffic where the client has to be courageous. At the same time, the lawyer has to be honest in their feedback.
So I think someone asked a question, but before I go to that, so how would you recommend, because again, our rights are very, very important. I mean, I do a lot of reports and whatnot. I'm always in the news, and I was seeing how, as people of color, as Black people, were at a disadvantage. For every dollar that Caucasian counterparts make, we're making, I think, 75 cents.
Right.
With NGOs, the amount of money that goes to NGOs and food banks, only 7 cents is coming to the Black community. And so it's kind of like there are a lot of things that, again, because of the distrust of the system, maybe it's because we feel like we are coming off of a war situation right now. So people feel like this is our promised land already, you know. And because of all these things, we're not able to actually, we don't know what our rights are, or we're okay with whatever we're given. So what would you say to people in knowing their rights, the importance of knowing their rights, and demystify that lawyers are just money grabbers, or lawyers are liars? Yes, you know.
I've never heard that before.
No, then you didn't grow up in Nigeria.
Just kidding. Well, it starts with changing the way we think, right? It starts with changing the way we think and placing value in these intangible services. I've seen people get into a business partnership and they're going online to draw up the partnership agreement, and they're investing. This one is investing 50K, the other one is investing 50K, and no lawyer has looked into that agreement.
Mm,
When I took over the firm, this is a transaction between two lawyers. I hired a lawyer because I knew that I've been blinded, you know, because I am the one negotiating,
mhm,
right? But I still had an extra pair of eyes to monitor what was going on. So it's all about changing the way we think. If you want to start up a business that you want to be sustainable, by all means, have a professional look into it, right? And so many lawyers have different ways their fees are paid. For instance, I also run a contingency fee program. What that means is, let's say you were terminated after 10 years of employment and they've only paid you maybe 2 months and you're entitled to 4 months. I may tell you, look, don't pay me a dime until I get money for you, right?
mhm.
So I do that a lot. That way, you don't even get to spend a dime until
So what if
actually
what if you don't like? What if you don't win the case? What happens
I
then?
don't get paid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So so there's nothing to lose, right? If I
Mm,
don't win, I don't get paid. But that has never happened because at the very beginning, I've looked at the file and I know exactly how it's going to end for the most part,
mm, mm,
right?
mm,
But at the same time, the client doesn't get to finance the litigation or the legal fees from their pocket, right? And that is why I've been able to take files as little as $3,000, especially people from our community, simply to stand up for them. There was this woman, I had a trial on her behalf on Monday. She was making $2,000 a month from Tim Hortons. 2 years into her employment, they accused her of stealing money. But what she was actually doing was taking her tips that customers gave her.
mm,
And they made her sign a document that called her a thief. And then she resigned because the work environment had become toxic. That kind of person would not be able to afford me. But I took on her file for 3 years. You know, I ended up getting her, I think, $10,000 or $7,000 or thereabout. But if I had billed her based on the time I spent on that file, she would have spent at the very least $30,000. Easy.
mm.
So some lawyers still do have humanity. you know, so if you require legal services, don't put everybody in the same basket. Reach out and find out if there are payment plans that are available that would cater to the individual circumstances.
Mm. Okay, so we're just going to just run through the questions quick, just because we're running out of time. Someone says, "What's your advice to young lawyers?"
Mentorship, mentorship, mentorship. Again, back home where we're coming from, mentorship is not really a thing. You walk into a gathering, you start looking for people that look familiar, right?
Mm,
You start looking for your classmates, and they end up, hanging out with them. You don't meet new people, but here is a thing, and mentorship should be very intentional. It's not just connect with people, exchange business cards, and you never get to talk to them again, hoping that you run into them sometime in the future. You meet with someone, you reach out a few days later, connect over coffee, and make that a frequent situation, and also be ready to exchange value, right? sometimes I get lots of messages on LinkedIn. Some are very brash. They will say, "Hi, Mr.
Trust me.
Suji, I want to come to Canada. How can you help me?"
Like, Charles, I show you my email. Some people, you think that, like, who even owns, like,
You
honestly.
know, sometimes they might be kind. They say, "Congratulations on your award. However, I want to come to Canada. How can you help me?" With that kind of connection, right off the bat, I feel like this person is not connecting with me to really
And it's
understand
just
my
looking for what they
story.
can get.
It's transactional, right?
Mm.
It's transactional, and nobody feels good feeling used in any kind of setting. Regardless of where you are, there's always a value to add. There's a gentleman that reached out and said, "Hey, Charles, do you like Aboki caps? Something like that, that I
Mm-hmm.
can make one for you and send to you whenever anyone is leaving." This person doesn't have much, but he is trying to bring value into that relationship, you know, and he is not there for what he's going to get alone. He's also there to,
To add
you know,
something.
to add something. So approaching connections and networking in a manner that focuses on exchange of value, those are the connections that last because
Mm.
it's not a one-way traffic, it's a two-way traffic.
Mm. Thank you. Someone says, where are you based? He's based in Calgary. So can you practice anywhere or just in Calgary or Alberta?
Yes, there are mobility agreements in place that allow me to practice in any province for up to 100 days. However, if I want to practice in, for instance, BC, British Columbia, all I need to do is let them know that I want to get a license, and they will give me some forms to fill out. That's it. I don't need to write any bar exams. I don't need to do anything. Just
Wow.
administrative steps to take, yeah.
Wow. Hi, Paula. So someone says this question, I'm going to take it because I want to know, because Charles is a workaholic. Says, what do you do in your free time?
I
Hobbies.
pray. I pray to God.
He plays the keyboard. Fun fact. He actually plays the keyboard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, question is, do I have free time? Right? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. When you're looking to build something bigger than you,
Mm,
something has to give, right? Something has to give. You're not gonna do it working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. That's not how Rome was built. That's not how empires were built, right? You have to go above and beyond. So long as there's a game plan, so long as this is not where how my life is gonna be until I turn 70, so long as there's a plan. But to me, this is farming season. This is time to sow, 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 sow. Because that's just how life is structured. You sow and you reap, right?
mm,
The more you sow, the more you reap.
mm.
But I do have good friends. I've seen a few people. I've seen Chibi came here. I've seen a few people that joined. I do have a great circle of friends. We connect. All thanks to COVID, nobody's going out anymore. But before COVID, people had life, right? So social life is there. Church, I'm also big in church up until COVID happened. I play soccer a lot. Before COVID, I used to play 2, 3 times a week. So yeah, I do have some.
So you do have fun. Okay, so good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Last comment before we leave. Someone Mexi says, proud of you, my friend and colleague. You've always been in pursuit of excellence and being above average all through university and law school days. I look forward to partnering with your firm.
Yes, next I
Um,
look forward to that for sure.
okay, so we've come to the end of this. It's just 1 hour. And I want to, so that when next I ask Charles to come, he will answer me.
Right.
I want you to just appreciate Charles in the comments. It's been, if you agree that this has truly been enlightening, this has been inspirational, please a round of applause in the comment section. So we say thanks to Charles. This is also going on my podcast. So I have a podcast. It's called the Damiadini Show.
Nice.
on all streaming platforms. So Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast, it's right there. And on YouTube as well. So if you're listening from those platforms, I would have all Charles's description, his website, everything, in case you need to contact him, in case you need to get in touch with him. Please remember, if it's mentorship or that you want, please be nice. Like, we get these emails all the time that it just seems like it's your birthright. It doesn't really work that way,
Right.
So make sure that you're doing so politely as well. But reach out to Charles if you need anything. He's in Calgary, and so I have all that information down there. Charles, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Dami, can I say something? I think you're one of the very first people in Canada that started celebrating Black excellence. You know that, right? You're one of the
I
very first. Yeah, you're one of the very first. Before you, the stories were all over the place. They were all scattered. They're not structured. And then you came on board and you started to catalog all of these stories. You started to showcase us. You started to share content about us. So you have given us a platform. You have shared our stories, and I'm sure that a lot of people appreciate what you do. So keep it up.
Oh, thank you, Charles. That means a lot to me. It means a lot to me
Right,
because,
right,
again, I always say this, if we are not economically empowered, if we are not politically empowered, if we are not even empowered in the media, then, I mean, there's only so much that we can do. So it's very, very important.
yes,
If you have anything, if you're up to anything, send me an email. Trust me.
right, right,
I will help you make noise. That, I believe that it's a calling. That's what I've been called to do.
right.
And we need representation in media. So
And the
thank you
very
so much.
first article about me was by you. The
Really?
very first article
Hey!
about.
Hey! Hey!
So I'm not gonna be in a rush to forget that at all.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I'm honored. Please, if you're not following me, follow me. That's another way to
Please
support
follow
me.
Dami. Please follow Dami. Don't follow me.
$0.
I'm a ghost. I'm a ghost on Instagram. So
I
don't.
know, because I tag you in stuff and you never respond. I just know that you're good. That's why I leave you. But please make sure I don't know if you want, you can follow Charles as well. But as I said, he's a ghost. But I'll put all the information to
Right.
Charles's platform. Thank you, everyone. One more thing. For next week, I wouldn't be having the show on Monday, just because I need to take a break and sort of plan the month. But on Thursday, I'm having Femi Odutola. Bell, he's in fintech. I've forgotten the name of his
I know
company.
Femi. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm having him, he's in fintech, and we're going to just discuss all of that. I'll put all the information once, I've done all of that. But so if you don't see me on Monday, I'm just working. All right, guys, have a wonderful evening and good night. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Dami. Bye.
Bye.